On the heels of my last article about common denominators, where at the end I talked about family members who fit that category, it made sense to do some work on our relationships with family. They can be especially precarious depending on how we were raised and what's crafted our lens. Let's start with that lens, because it will heavily influence any information you take in about family relationships. While there are almost certainly a variety of beliefs on this subject, I have found most fit on a spectrum between two extremes: the blood is thicker than water group and the what have they done for me lately group. As in most cases, a dogmatic approach to an extreme view is less productive than a moderated, balanced one. If we explore the two extreme sides of the spectrum a little further, you may see what side you're closer to landing on, if it's not already obvious to you. This makes it easier to discern the kinds of actions you can take to improve these relationships if you're interested. The blood is thicker than water group. Those that find themselves more towards the blood is thicker side believe that family is sacred, and this can lead to some extreme behaviors, including tolerating things from relatives that they would never suffer at the hands of another human. Some indicators at the extreme include sweeping problems under the rug, valuing family members over any other human regardless of their actions, tolerating abuse and extreme behavior, avoiding difficult conversations, and lack of boundaries. The what have they done for me lately group. Those closer to the what have they side believe that being related by blood doesn't make anybody special, and have their own extreme behaviors like abandoning familiar relationships in a way they would never do to a friend or even a stranger. Some indicators at the extreme include volatility over any disagreement, treating family worse than other relationships, abandoning family over perceived slights, reveling in difficult conversations, overemphasized and overregulated boundaries. Again, these are the extreme sides of the spectrum, but if any of those indicators resonate with you, that's probably a sign of the side you lean towards. For the record, I'm closer to the what have they group, though I am both related and married to people who lean towards the blood is thicker side. This is also a logical place to bring up my concept of productive versus right. When it comes to family, perhaps there is no right or wrong, but there may be more productive versus less productive. I go into more detail on that in my video Neuroassociations and How They Impact Relationships. If you've already seen that video, then it will make sense that I will offer ideas that lend themselves to productivity rather than asserting that there is a right or wrong view. When it comes to relationships and how to manage them, family is both different and the same. Family is different because these are people we didn't choose to be related to. We were born in, or they were. We were married in, or they were. The only case where family is chosen is whom you marry, unless it was arranged for you. And so for purposes of this concept, I'm not including your spouse. You don't even get to choose your kids. They are created and you do your best to influence them, but you didn't pick them out of a crowd of other kids and decide that one would be yours. Considering the lack of our control over who gets to be related to us, it's no wonder that it can be very challenging to maintain healthy relationships with them sometimes. We're friends with people that have similar interests or other reasons that compel us to spend time with them, common ground we stand on by choice. Family gets to disagree with us, argue with us, ignore us, be ridiculous to us, and guess what? They're still related to us. Can't take that away from them, nor they from us. Removing choice from an equation is a surefire way to get people to at least be on edge about a situation, and at most, to send them directly into active boycotting. This means that the only choice we have is to identify which side of the family spectrum we want to operate from, whether or not it was handed down to us by example, and either mindfully continue on our current path or make changes toward a position that seems more productive for us. Family is the same for purposes of common denominators because, after all, these are people. If they didn't have a particular title, they would just be another person you know. A human with shared DNA who you may also share some history with. They have their own problems and opinions, accomplishments and joys, and are unique whether you share a parent, grandparent, aunt, nephew, or not. We may not get to choose them, but we do get to choose how we respond to their actions. And family is neither above the law nor beyond reproach. Just because you might forgive something a family member did doesn't mean our justice system or our community would. They're related to us, but they're still human and should be judged by their actions, productive or otherwise. You know this to be true because if a stranger did something horrible to you or a loved one, you wouldn't want their crime forgiven by the law just because they're somebody's son or daughter. So why wouldn't that apply in the reverse? We're all related to somebody, therefore family is the same as all other relationships and require maintenance accordingly, and can be viewed through the prism of mutual edification. I found this to be the more challenging side of the spectrum. It's because our ties to family are based in a tribal sense of protection and survival from thousands of years ago that aren't required for life in society anymore. Your family was likely to make up some percentage of your tribe, which you depended on for survival. So there was no choice but to suffer through, take the bad with the good, because your alternative was death. This is not the case anymore, but it's still in us. Still creates challenges with unhealthy relationships that could be resolved by viewing and treating them differently. Therefore, the way to improve family relationships is to appreciate both the sameness and the difference to other kinds of relationships. They deserve our attention at the very least, because often these are people who have shared a great deal of our experiences, and if nothing else, they've borne witness to a large part of our lives. That's worth the work. You can appreciate that a family member has been through a lot of your struggles with you and still not allow them to walk on you emotionally, just like you could with a good friend. Setting boundaries is healthy. Talking out the small stuff can be beneficial. Avoiding screaming is always the right choice. Violence is never the answer. No matter which side of the spectrum you lean towards, relationships are worth fighting for as long as they're healthy and productive for both or all parties. Anything unhealthy should be limited, if not removed from your life. Now that we've identified the two extremes, you may have figured out which side you lean towards. Let's reveal some methods to handle family as productively as possible for both ends. For the blood is thicker than water side, it may be beneficial to look at the relationship as though they were not related to you and reassess how you might react differently in that case. If they're acting in a destructive manner, would you tolerate that from a friend or acquaintance? If the relationship tends to cause more stress than joy, it may be as simple as maintaining some simple boundaries. Let's use an extreme. A family member, when distraught, screams and becomes hostile towards other family members. Because equality, I'm going to make this hypothetical person a she. Why is that different than if it was, say, your friend's girlfriend? If you were having a group event at your place and suddenly your friend's girlfriend got angry, began to scream horrible things at your friend and throw things at them, would you not express to your friend that perhaps this relationship is unhealthy? There aren't many logical resolutions. Most would suggest that our friend part ways with this angry girl. Why is that different if it's your mother, sister, niece, or even daughter? This is a person who likely needs therapy and support, and nobody should be their victim while they're working out their issues. Moreover, she's likely to agree with that sentiment when she's healthier and looking back on her previous actions. If you wouldn't endure it with a friend, it might be worth considering why you would, because they're related. If you're dealing with abuse, all things are equal. The answer is always to make it stop, and sometimes that means removing yourself from their presence, even if it hurts their feelings. For the what have they done for me lately side, it may alternatively be of value to add just a touch more appreciation for the fact that these people will always be your family, your actions and decisions notwithstanding. People in this camp are already willing to gauge somebody's worth based solely on their actions. So in cases where you may not have a whole lot of experiences with a family member, it might be worth keeping in mind that whether you like it or not, you are likely to have to see them again, like family events, reunions, etc. Therefore, it's probably worth some effort to at least make it peaceful. Let's say there's a guy in your family that just rubs you the wrong way for whatever your reasons. If you were at a friend's get-together and one of them had a friend that bugged you, would you go out of your way to make this person aware of your dislike and risk everybody's comfort in your path? If not, then there probably isn't a lot of value in you doing so to this family member. How much of it can simply be ignored? Or is there a conversation you can have with the person where you mostly agree to steer clear of each other? There may be elements of being the pit bull in your family that bring you joy, but in the long run, it often makes those whom you love the most uncomfortable. Trust me, family deserves a little extra effort on our part. Family does not deserve our suffering in the face of their poor choices. We don't get to choose them, but we do get to choose how we act, even how we feel to a degree. And we have a say on the intensity and frequency of any relationship we're a part of. I've had the joy and privilege to guide friends through some of their more difficult family interactions, and I can tell you this. Based on these experiences, those who find themselves closer to the middle of the spectrum feel far more fulfilled in their relationships and efforts in them than those on either extreme. I'll say it again, it's worth the work. The principle: seek the balance between extremes in every relationship, including family. It can be done with all of them, even if it seems impossible. It can be done. In this video, I mentioned common denominators. If you haven't seen it yet, check out People as Common Denominators to get the full picture and how you can help others stop their limiting beliefs, or even stop your own. Thanks for watching the video, and be sure to subscribe for more like it. Click on the notification bell to be alerted to new videos.